Welcome to Manhwa Nirvana. This video is a continuation of the previous one. If you haven't watched it yet, click the button above to check it out. Now, let's begin. Our story starts as we see Hempri suggesting they head out together. Kim saw system notification. If Hempri dies, the quest will fail. Kim's jaw clenched. Seriously? Now he had to babysit this level 13 deadweight? And the guy looked completely oblivious to the danger ahead. Great. Just great. Now it wasn't just a fetch quest. It was an escort mission from hell. Kim Chol-soo figured he could breeze through the dungeon and ignore the mobs. Escort missions weren't new to him. He knew the trick. Just move far enough ahead and the NPC would freeze in place, waiting. Perfect. He ditched the blacksmith at the entrance without a second thought. But his plan fell apart in seconds. A system alert flashed. Poison-tongued Hempri is under attack. Kim gritted his teeth, cursed, and immediately ordered the goblin to double back and handle it. The goblin obeyed without hesitation, tearing through the monsters in a flurry of wild, efficient strikes. In moments, the corridor was quiet again. As the dust settled, scattered loot glittered on the floor, standard monster drops. Hempri picked it up and proudly declared that the monsters were no match for Hempri the Great. Kim rolled his eyes. He told the old man to cut the bragging and stick to staying alive. Before they could regroup, a strange rumble echoed deeper in the dungeon. Then, with zero warning, Hempri sprinted toward it like he just smelled treasure, straight into danger. Kim clenched his fists. Part of him wanted to let the idiot die and be done with it, but that would mean failing the quest. And throw him away the hidden crafting reward. So he sent the goblin forward once again, this time with orders to protect the maniac. He calculated quickly. If he tried to rush ahead and summon the goblin later, the old man would die for sure. That left only one choice. Clear every monster room together. To his surprise, Hempri didn't just hide behind the goblin. The blacksmith charged in, hammer swinging, like he had something to prove. He moved like a man possessed, striking down mobs while yelling about his glory days. The goblin stuck close, slicing down enemies with ruthless accuracy. Honestly, it was doing all the real work, but the old man sure played the part of a hero. The pace was slow, frustrating, but it was safer than leaving him behind. Mid-fight, Hempri suddenly turned to Kim and barked that he wasn't just some overweight baggage. He declared that he used to be a warrior back in the day, and no belly was going to change that. Before Kim could reply, the old man let out a roar, activating a taunt skill that echoed through the tunnels. Kim cursed under his breath. This guy just aggroed every monster in earshot. As if on cue, a massive skeletal boss emerged from the shadows, hollow eyes glowing with malice. Even worse, it summoned a swarm of mini-skeletons that poured in like floodwater. Hempri cheered, fists pumping. He said it was finally time for a real fight. Kim wanted to scream. The blacksmith had intentionally woken up the boss. This wasn't a quest, it was a curse. Amid the chaos, the goblin picked up a small rock, as if bored. It activated its throw skill and hurled the stone with surgical precision. Crack, crack, crack. Every mini-skeleton collapsed in a neat row of one-hit kills. 3 exhausting hours later, the so-called escort was still sprinting headfirst into danger. Hempri didn't walk. He dragged Kim through the dungeon like it was a death trap design. Kim Chol-soo had barely caught his breath after dragging that mad blacksmith through the dungeon. His level had finally ticked up from 34 to 37, something, at least. But before the relief could settle in, a strange metallic clink echoed through the tunnel. "It's a trap," the blacksmith suddenly shouted. Too late. 3 poison-tipped arrows flew from the shadows. Acting on instinct, Kim yanked his goblin in front of him. The little gremlin took the hit like a champ. Kim glanced back, confused. Wasn't this area already cleared? Then he spotted the pressure plate. The blacksmith had stepped on it, again. The old fool, struck in the side, had the audacity to yell at Kim, calling him a coward for dodging. A system message cut through the argument. Venomous Hempili is poisoned. Venomous Hempili has died. Quest failed. Kim Chol-soo nearly screamed. All this grinding, and now the quest failed because some deranged blacksmith couldn't keep his boots off trap plates. Furious, he stormed off, ready to wring the old man's neck. But as he searched, he caught sight of a few shady players watching him from the shadows. Eyes narrowed, he ignored them and pressed on until he found the blacksmith calmly tinkering with some scrap metal. Fuming, Kim shouted at him, demanding some last words before he turned him into an anvil. The blacksmith simply smiled and thanked him for helping find the hammer. Kim blinked, stunned. A new system message appeared. Quest complete. Retrieve Hempel's forging hammer. New feature unlocked. Equipment crafting. The blacksmith explained that the hammer had dropped from the first monster they killed. Kim nearly fainted. All that chaos, and he had the damn thing the entire time. The blacksmith sneered and said it was because Kim was trash, that's why he didn't notice. Then, unfazed, he went to work, hammering away with surprising precision. As he worked, he muttered that true armor quality comes from the sweat of the blacksmith. A few minutes later, with a final clang, the armor was done. He presented the gleaming piece with a smug smirk. It was made from high-purity steel, blue steel light armor, a rare grade piece. It had a 1% chance to trigger heaven-crushing strike when hit. The blacksmith warned him not to thank him, said it would make him nauseous. Kim scoffed. No worries, gratitude was never in his plans anyway. Then a system alert hit. PK mode activated. A blade flashed toward his chest. He twisted, dodging just in time. His attacker sneered, demanding to know if he was the one responsible for injuring his lady. He accused Kim of betraying her, of leaving her to die. Kim blinked, confused. Who? Then the name hit him, Catherine. The beauty from that mining dungeon. He quickly insisted she betrayed him first, that he was the one left behind. But the man snarled that Kim stood here alive while Catherine hadn't woken up since the encounter, she was in a coma. The revelation hit hard. Kim defended himself, saying it was the hidden boss that did it, not him. The man didn't care. He said Catherine's coma had thrown the Day Shining Group's succession plans into chaos. She was the heir, and her condition now threatened everything. He lunged again. Kim barely summoned his goblin in time. The goblin blocked the blade with ease, taking no damage. Kim quickly pivoted. He asked if the girl was really the daughter of that Day Shining Group, the global megacorp that ruled everything from phones to semiconductors. The man confirmed it. She was still unconscious in the hospital, stuck between worlds, hit by an 80-level boss in a hidden dungeon. Her mind had simply shut down. Kim admitted quietly that she was meant to unlock the hidden class, not him. But somehow, he survived. Somehow, he became the summoner. The man demanded answers. How did someone barely level 30 survive something that broke a level 40 elite? Kim could only say it was luck. The mood shifted. The bodyguard warned Kim to watch his words. Catherine was alive, just not waking up. Doctors had tried everything. No one knew what was keeping her trapped. Kim clenched his fists. He declared they couldn't just wait. Maybe the answer was inside the game itself. He remembered a story from the West, where a player woke from a coma inside a dungeon called Gate of Heaven. It was probably just myth, 1 in 10 million, but desperate people cling to anything. Yes, he was lying. Giving false hope. But hadn't Catherine deceived him first? Then, shockingly, the plan was approved. The chairman gave the green light. They were going to forcibly log her comatose body into the game. Kim couldn't believe it. They were that desperate. If they ever found out he'd lied, they could erase him from the planet. But if he succeeded, it'd be the deal of a lifetime. He just had to pretend. Pretend to be the hero trying to save her, pretend he cared, and if he failed, he could always bow his head and say, "Sorry for your loss." Genius. But then came the real problem. How do you run quests with a comatose teammate? Dragging her around wasn't an option. Until it hit him, he could have the goblin pull her. System-wise, as long as a character moved, it counted as progress. It worked. Sort of. Nearby players were horrified. Someone shouted, asking if he was seriously letting a goblin drag an unconscious woman. Kim panicked and said they were really close. Another player shot back that if closeness made something okay, then punching him in the face was fair game too. It was just like that public humiliation in the beginner village, again. Then the voice interrupted, gruff and familiar. It was the bald monk from before. He waved Kim over, said there was no time to explain. The monk spotted the goblin and nodded, impressed. Said it probably saved them during the last raid. Kim cut him off. He didn't want praise, he wanted answers. What was the Abaddon Guild up to? The monk shrugged and said the last gathering was just for a raid. The guild didn't move as a whole very often. Kim knew this guy was some kind of intel source. He pressed again, asking about Phoenix City. The monk hesitated, then admitted he didn't know much. The dungeons there didn't follow normal schedules. They only appeared if you fulfilled hidden conditions. He eyed Kim curiously, then asked why he was so obsessed with dungeons. Why he freaked out if a run was delayed even by a second. Kim blinked in confusion. The voice chuckled, warning not to get caught abusing glitches or someone might report him. Phoenix City, it added, was a good next stop. Apparently, that city housed the next storyline trigger, and players were all over the place chasing it. Kim processed the tip slowly. Completing the main quest line could unlock access to higher level zones. He cursed himself. How had he not realized that earlier? He was ready to move on, with his goblin at his side in his next goal set, but then, he noticed something was off. The beautiful woman who had been tailing him a moment ago, gone. Alarm surged through him. He scanned the area and spotted her, now slumped unconscious in the hands of two sleazy-looking players. One of them sneered, wondering aloud what a woman like her was doing hanging around a loser. He laughed that she'd have more fun with them. They commented on her top-tier gear, speculating that she must have gone AFK. Maybe stepped away to use the bathroom. Either way, she wasn't fighting back. One of them grinned and suggested they protect her, adding that it would make things way more fun for them. Kim's pulse spiked. She wasn't just unconscious, she was helpless. And if anything happened to her, if she took even one hit, the blame would land squarely on him. Just then, a system ping hit his interface. The bodyguard had sent him a message. "How's the young lady doing?" asked the voice on the other end of the call. Kim Chol-soo replied without hesitation, his tone upbeat. He said she was doing great. If the man wanted to check in on her, sure, just send over some cash first. Oh, and as a heads up, he added, she was kind of preoccupied with him at the moment, maybe later. The call ended abruptly. The bodyguard, watching the whole exchange, muttered an apology. He admitted he might have overreacted. But the man next to him simply waved it off, calm and unconcerned. He told the guard not to worry. What was the worst that could happen? That man was Han Jun, chairman of the Shimmy Group, level 76. He knew exactly who Catherine was. Heiress to the vast Shimming Empire. And as for the guy she was with? Just some nobody. A glitch in the system. What kind of chaos could someone like that even cause? Still, the bodyguard wasn't convinced. He asked why they would entrust someone like Kim Chol-soo with her care. If in-game treatment was really viable, shouldn't they be the ones supervising it? Han Jun scoffed and said there was no point pretending otherwise. Even if Catherine didn't make it, what would really change? He explained that as the daughter of Shimming, her entire life had been dictated for her. Obedience was all she'd ever known. The only decision she'd ever made for herself was joining Heaven's Gate. In here, she could finally breathe. Better that than wasting away in a sterile hospital room, he added. Meanwhile, Kim Chol-soo was frantically searching the sprawling village for Catherine. The place was massive, dozens of streets, hundreds of buildings. He had no idea where to even begin. Then he remembered. During that earlier argument with Ji Yeon, something strange had happened. He'd somehow earned a point of Goblin affinity, and with it, a new skill had unlocked. He opened the Goblin skill shop and scanned the list. One caught his eye, Goblin Lifelink. It allowed him to sacrifice his own HP to heal his Goblin, scaling with the amount given. He immediately dismissed it. His Goblin never lost HP. What was the point? But the second unlocked skill made him pause. Goblin Toss. He could now throw his Goblin in any direction. It was meant as a basic positioning tool, but to Kim Chol-soo, it sparked a ridiculous and brilliant idea. Why not use the Goblin as an aerial scout? He tested it instantly. With a precise spin, he hurled the Goblin high into the sky. It soared over rooftops, scanning the area. Sure enough, it spotted her. Catherine. He broke into a run, shouting internally that Big Bro was here now. From this moment on, they'd never be apart. But as he got closer, two players were already standing next to her, level 44 and level 46. Both were grinning, eyes locked on Kim as he approached. One of them sneered and asked if that ugly creep from earlier was still following her around. He called Kim a freak. Kim's blood boiled. Did they think this was a joke? Did they really believe he'd gone through all this for fun? The two clowns puffed out their chests, announcing themselves as the handsome duo, self-proclaimed rescuers of helpless damsels. Without waiting for a response, they charged at Kim like they were noble knights riding into battle. He didn't even flinch. Seconds later, his goblin made short work of them, no effort, no sweat. Just 2 beatdowns delivered with surgical efficiency. Kim mocked them as they crumpled to the ground. He said that's what wannabe heroes get for jumping into a story they didn't belong in. The same ugly freak they'd mocked had just stomped them flat. That satisfaction, that moment of turning ridicule into dominance, it made Kim burst out laughing. The sound echoed through the city streets. And that wild laughter caught the attention of a nearby city guard. He wondered aloud what kind of lunatic could be making that racket. The answer came fast. There stood Kim Chul-soo, wild-eyed, grinning, clutching a woman under one arm like a trophy. And a goblin stood behind him. Kim exhaled through a cracked chuckle and gleefully declared that he was screwed. The knight stormed forward, sword drawn, accusing Kim of mass murder and kidnapping. He shouted furiously, demanding to know if Kim Thoth thought he could get away with it. Kim waved a hand and calmly insisted it was all a misunderstanding. He said it was just a twisted story. But inside, panic churned. He thought if people were going to spread rumors, couldn't they at least make him sound cool? He admitted silently this was his first real game and cursed the waste of time. Still, he hoped he could salvage the situation. That hope vanished instantly when his goblin shrieked, "Keek!" Suddenly, a bald man confronted him. He pretended to know Kim and said aloud that he's been looking for him everywhere. Kim remembered him as the liar from before and asked what he's doing here. The man asked why Kim had killed a guard and sneaked into the dungeon. He warned that impersonating a prisoner and committing murder will escalate matters. If Kim didn't want to die, he'd better play along. The man said he'd handle the rest. Caught off guard, Kim offered a hesitant thanks, unsure if this guy was helping. Then, the man approached the guard and casually says that he appreciates his work. The guard asked what he's plotting and what's behind his back. At that moment, a blue system message popped up. NPC gifting. Give an NPC a gift to raise your relationship with them. The bald man smiled and asked while passing a pouch of gold why don't he pretend that he never saw anyone in return for this. The guard asked why was he suddenly handing him so much gold. Bugged before they could celebrate, the guard started dragged the baldy with him for the crime of giving a bribe to an honest man like him. Then came another system ping. Relationship level decreased, and you have committed a crime. Kim blinked and muttered aloud, wondering if this guy was secretly a nice person. The scene shifted to the gates of a temple. Kim shouted in frustration, demanding to know why he couldn't pass. Above him stood a guard who flatly said, "No means no." Kim protested, saying he was here for a main quest. A yellow-robed man suddenly interjected, telling Kim to stop wasting his efforts. Kim narrowed his eyes and asked who he was. The man smiled confidently and exclaimed that he is Shin. Seeing the exclamation point above his head, Kim realized that he's giving him a quest. The man said he liked Kim's eyes, they looked like those of a real adventurer. He added that Kim could help him with some lost ruin, and asked him to prove his worth. The man told him if he did well, he'd be granted entry to the castle. But Kim kept pressing the skip dialogue button, causing the NPC to curse at him. A system alert followed. Main quest. Show your skills. Bring the core of a golem. Reward. 25,000 express. Kim groaned internally and muttered that he should have let the man explain things earlier. He repeated the phrase, "lost ruin," to himself, then focused on the path forward. He looked over the edge of a platform into a lava-filled dungeon and thought that with his agility maxed speed, he should be able to get through easily, but the problem is that he needs to make sure she doesn't take damage. He says aloud that he doesn't like her, but he doesn't want to deal with her getting hurt either. He ordered his goblin, telling him to wait for the signal before advancing. Kim took a breath, nodded. Then came a scream. Without hesitation, Kim dove into action. As soon as he passed the trial, he shouted for the goblin to move. Summoner skill. Rally. Key Ak. The goblin howled and launched itself into Kim. Kim watched, impressed. The skill really was powerful, but only on basic enemies. Suddenly, seeing the leash in the goblin's hand, he realized the skill didn't include her. Seeing the woman falling, he shouted in panic. Kim panicked, screamed at the goblin to save her. The goblin hurled its ripe, elouching her midair, but with poor aim, she flew towards the saws. Kim screamed in rage, demanding to know what the goblin was doing. Then he could only cover his eyes as he heard the disgusting tearing sounds. When she got down, he called out to her saying that she couldn't die in a place like this, of course for his own sake rather than her own. Unconscious, Catherine recalls a distant memory. A man calls out to her. The man, a tall and intimidating figure with sharp features and white hair, stands in the middle of a dimly lit room. His white shirt is untucked and slightly disheveled, and he grips a golf club in his right hand. His tone is cold and accusatory as he stares down at the young girl before him. He asks her if she came home late because she was out with her friends. He states that he has told her many times that friends at her age are nothing but fleeting, worthless nobodies who are bound to be forgotten. Raising the cane with a threatening motion, he says that with her makeup and shortened skirt that makes her look like a whore, has she decided to live like a subhuman? The girl, with wide, fearful eyes, bows her head and clasps her hands together. She says she's sorry and vows to never do it again. He responds that perhaps she might remember if they made the punishment a bit more intense this time. He then declares that he'll teach her a lesson today. Tears streaming down her face. The girl screams that she's sorry. She yells that she's really sorry and begins to cry out for her mother. She screams for her mother to help, calling out, "Mom," in desperation. Her voice echoes, pleading for someone to stop him. She begs her mother to do something, repeatedly crying out, "Moom," as she glances over her shoulder in terror. Behind a crack in a door, a woman's eye peers out silently. The girl, sobbing, calls out to her again, "Mom." Her mom stares at the girl with a chilling expression, her eyes cold and devoid of empathy. She declares that she is her only flaw. She then opens her eyes and sees Kim calling out to her. He asked the goblin desperately what they should do. The goblin just screeched. Kim's face went pale. He demanded to know what that meant. His mind spun. Was it saying mouth to mouth? Seriously? Kim muttered to himself, horrified. He never even held a girl's hand, now he was expected to do that. Sure, it was just a game, he thought, but it felt real. The sensation engine made everything feel too real. He looked down at her peaceful face and tried to convince himself it was fine. Maybe she just fainted. He remembered drama cliches. Maybe this was the moment. With fake confidence, he declared he was doing CPR. As his face got closer, the system interface appeared. Then, a call came through, asking how's the young lady. Kim shouted in shock. The butler, Kim frantically said she wasn't dead, that he hadn't done anything. Please, just trust him. The voice replied that he was aware. He confirmed he was observing the situation through in-game monitoring and explained that while she was unconscious, her gear protects her vitals. A system message appeared. Rare item, magical dress of the Phoenix. Def plus 85, res plus 110, HP regeneration when unconscious. The butler explained she wouldn't die unless dragged into a hidden dungeon. Kim repeated the relief aloud, she wasn't dead. Then the voice clarified his reason for calling. He wanted to make sure Kim didn't do anything unnecessary while she was out cold. Before he could finish, Kim hung up on him. Kim's expression lit up. He grinned wildly, clutched his goblin, and declared they were heading to the boss room at full speed. Keek. The goblin agreed. A massive stone ball roared toward them. Kim grabbed the woman and used her as a surfboard as they skidded down the path. Next objective. Crossed the broken bridge, they threw her to the other side, then used her as a hook to the other side while passing through the rope. She still wasn't moving. New objective, kill the golem. A giant stone golem loomed ahead. Kim used her as a morning star to smash the golem. But before she could reacg it, the golem swatted her down. Kim gasped, realizing he'd charged in too fast, too cocky, and used her as a projectile. He gets a system message, you have gained a goblin point. Kim shouted at the golem for daring to attack his multi-purpose anti-trap diffuser. He ordered his goblin to finish it in one blow. The golem advanced. The goblin screeched and attacked. The red-clad woman stirred slightly. The golem swung. The goblin countered, landing a critical hit that sent the golem flying. Kim watched calmly, remarking that the goblin wasn't even winded. He said he'd just need to take the golem's core now. But suddenly, the golem's body pulsed with energy, purple lightning, it regenerated, grew larger. Kim shouted in disbelief. Why is it getting bigger? And worse, it leveled up. He ordered the goblin to destroy it. The goblin charged again. As it smashed its hand, the golem regenerated again and grew stronger. Kim told the goblin to block the hit, not attack it. But the golem struck, hurling the goblin into a wall of fire. Explosions ripped through the room. Kim cursed. He realized the golem wouldn't stay dead unless the core was destroyed. It had a phylactery, an anchor of resurrection. He recalled the old man's warning that without a direct hit to the core, they'd be stuck in an endless loop. Kim debated, should he hunt for the core or keep fighting? But what if it grew even stronger? What if it became stronger than the goblin? Catherine strode ahead as the golem threw a fist in her direction. This punch triggered her PTSD of TTHE Goblin King. She could only whisper, then she screamed. A bone-chilling wail of fear that echoed across the battlefield. So that's it for today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more awesome manhwa content.